Would you say I have a reasonable understanding of how to execute these various sex acts properly?
Yes.
How awesome is that?
What you're doing is disgusting. Listen, lady. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you all in the chat. Look at that. How professional is that? We've got overlays going. We dropped down the definition on the camera today, so let me know in the chat if we're still all pixelated, like I was on Friday. Unfortunately, the internet in Morocco is not known for being the fastest in the world, so that might be why things are a bit pixelated, but hopefully the audio is coming through. I'm letting you guys tell me in the chat if that is not the case. Rage Guy says, Happy National Milk Day. I did not know that was even a thing, or if you're trolling us, but whatever. Happy National Milk Day. There you go. Yes, okay. Davina is confirming that it is still a bit pixelated, still potato smoother. Well, that's good. At a certain point in the stream on Friday, it fixed itself. Well, we'll just deal with it. The important thing is that you can hear what the hell I'm... because that's where the lessons come in. That's where all the knowledge comes from. So, first off, good to see you, Rage Guy. Good to see you, Davina. Ninja Creeper, welcome to the chat. Ben Chickens Ahoy. John Ellis, always good to see you. As you guys chime in, let me know. Today, we're going to talk about something that's a bit of a paradox for most guys. And this is the idea of trying to get a girl off. And the reason I wanted to talk about this today is because I actually had a couple of guys email me back to back on this particular topic, and I thought, wow, that's actually quite relevant, since, you know, if I'm seeing multiple guys getting this coming across this kind of problem at the same time, then I think it needs addressing. So I figured it would be a topic for today's live stream. So here we go. Rachel, good to see you in the chat. Paul Riddle, good to see you. Kaizen, as always, good to see you. I like this comment. We need to upgrade the NES Stirling to the Super NES Stirling, so we can at least get 16-bit. Well, there you go. As I said, Rage Guy, it is because of the Moroccan internet speed. There's nothing I can do about it whilst I'm in this country. So there you go. It did fix itself after a few minutes. It seemed to go all right after a few minutes on the stream on Friday. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, so I'm gonna read out a couple of emails that I got over the last few days, and I'm not gonna obviously dox these guys or share name or any personal details, but it's you'll see the relevance, the similarity between their two issues, and how that relates to this sort of paradox of pleasing her, right? And I'll give you guys the answers that I gave them as well in these emails. So hopefully you can learn from these things as well. So the first question goes like this. Hey Stirling, is it true some girls can't have a vaginal orgasm from penetration? My girl said she's never had one except while she's touching herself while being penetrated, or just touching herself. Basically, her clit has to be touched with her to orgasm. When we first started having sex, I could tell she wasn't very experienced. I'm able to give her orgasms by going down on her while fingering her, which she's never experienced. But I really want to give her one just through penetration. I've come very close with the technique she showed, but not all the way. This guy's a customer of mine from my sexual dominance escalation video course, so that's what he's referring to there. I have a normal or above-sized penis. I'm attractive. I'm really good in shape. I've never had this challenge before. My last girl could not come unless I was penetrating her, so I know I'm not just doing it wrong and have had no issues with prior women. Cool. if some girls are just like this, that's fine, but I've never experienced such a challenge before. Anything I'm possibly missing, or is the show for some women? So that was the first question that I received. So the guy is basically trying to give his woman a penetrative orgasm, right? Because a lot of girls have a preference for their type of orgasm. Clitoral stimulus, they prefer clitoral stimulation, and other girls prefer penetrative stimulation, right? So he's trying to figure out if this is like a black and white thing, is they are one or the other. And in my experience, that is not the case. In my experience, girls can look. And let me just go into the answer I gave him, and then I'll go into the next question. You'll see why they're so similar. So I said, when you go down on her, do you stimulate her G-spot with your fingers? If you're doing this, then you could actually baby step her towards being able to orgasm through G-spot stimulation with fingers first. And then it'll be easier to do this with your penis. So if you're going down on her, stimulating her clitoris and fingering her at the same time, then when you feel her getting close to this point of no return, you can then slowly fade away with the clitoris stimulation slowly and keep the G-spot stimulation going, and you will be able to slowly, over the course of several sessions, it won't necessarily happen the very first time you try this, but over the course of several sessions, you'll be able to get her over the edge with that G-spot stimulation, which is then how you actually open up and connect the neural pathways for her to orgasm that way in the future. That's a very important thing. So the big thing here, though, and this is the kind of whole point of this stream, the big thing here, though, is not to make a big deal out of it. The more pressure you put on her, the less likely it's going to happen, right? So you definitely don't want to tell the girl that this is what you're trying to do, because that will absolutely work against you, 100% work against you. And I've also told him, don't jackhammer her G-spot too much. So I've also said to him here, every woman absolutely has a preference for certain types of orgasm, but they all have the same equipment biologically, right? So she definitely has the capacity to orgasm from penetration. And like this guy said, he's gotten close with the techniques that I teach him in my video course. So what I suggested to him is rubbing her while he's penetrating her, rubbing her clitoris, stimulating her clitoris while he's penetrating her, and getting her to the point of no return, shall we say, for her. And then eventually she's able to associate her orgasm with penetration. And again, it begins to connect that neural pathway, right? And the important thing here is the important thing I told him here is that I don't want him to stress about this and worry about it too much and try to rush through it, because he's in a long-term relationship with this girl, so he's got all the time in the world. And he's got all the time in the world to slowly make this happen, to sort of covertly almost make this happen, make this neural connection happen, so he can open up to a different way of orgasming. And the idea is that I'm trying to teach him to train/condition her into this sort of response, this orgasmic response, over several sex sessions. So he needs to sort of tease this neural connection out of her by getting her like right on the edge, right on the point of no return, and really paying attention to her breathing and her internal muscle twitching. And then he knows when to take away the clitoral stimulation and keep the G-spot stimulation going, and then tease her into that kind of penetrative orgasm to start with, and that'll start the neural connection, and then he can start to achieve this with actual penile penetration, right? But the important thing, so that's the first. That was the first question I received, and you'll sort of see similarities when I'm into this next one as well. So, this guy says, hope all is well. Recently finished your sexual dominance escalation course. Amazing content and advice. Definitely a game changer. I'm glad I bought it as an early bird. So I listened closer to all the gems you've been giving us. In one part, you were talking about the girl needs to be comfortable. At first, I thought, yeah, obviously, like the smart ass I am, if a girl's at the stage where she's having sex with you, she's already comfortable, right? I recently found myself this is not always the case. Maybe she's comfortable to a certain degree, but not comfortable enough to really let herself go and enjoy. This is correct. He talks about the sex he's been having. Where did we get to here? Put out attention. Okay, here we go. So he starts saying, when she starts grabbing around and starts to breathe faster, I know I'm heading in the right direction. He's talking about going down on her here and fingering her. He's trying to get her to, in this particular example, this second guy's example, he's trying to give her a squirting orgasm. So I always try to look at her facial expressions. When she starts grabbing around and starts to breathe faster, I know I'm heading in the right direction. Then she starts grabbing my hand, which I'm the hand that he's fingering her with, making it hard for him to continue. So what he does is he grabs her arm, pushes it onto the bed, and continues with the motion. But after a couple of seconds, when she almost starts shaking, she smiles and tells me to kiss her and leave it. He said this has happened a couple of times. Could this be because she is embarrassed to squirt, or she gets the feeling she needs to pee because she is simply not comfortable enough? I can also tell during sex she's kind of holding herself back. I know this because previously girls he's had sex with have shown more expression. Am I overlooking the obvious here? I have to say I'm not the most talkative guy in the bedroom. Maybe I should have told her to relax more. Today he was talking with her and she said, just wait until I get comfortable with you. So that's basically when he started questioning things and asks, a girl can be comfortable to sleep with you, but also not be comfortable at the same time? ? So I've replied to him, basically, exactly. Like a woman can be comfortable enough to sleep with you, but then letting herself go to the point where she can experience these different kinds of orgasm, that is an entirely different level of comfort. It's a whole other layer of comfort for them to be able to orgasm in certain ways. Once that's opened up, once she's had that first experience, then it's easy. But it's that first hurdle, the first time she has that kind of experience is the most challenging one for her mentally, because she has to relax and let go and really get into connection and really connect with her body. Like there needs to be a strong mind-body connection to achieve that certain type of orgasm. So I've said to him here, I said, look, so some girls don't like fingering that much. It can be too much of a sensation for them a lot of the time. So you have to sort of gauge that from her. I've used the example here. It's kind of like a girl giving you a dry hand job. You appreciate the enthusiasm, but it's just a bit too much, which is definitely the case a lot of the times. And it could also be the fact that she's embarrassed to squirt. She's too embarrassed to squirt. And typically the way to test for this is to either lay a towel down, have her laying on a towel so there's no mess is going to be made, or do it in the shower, where it doesn't really matter if she makes a mess. If she thinks she's going to pee herself and she actually does pee, and doesn't matter because you're in the shower, right? But I've said here, but if she's grabbing your hand and trying to get you to stop, that tells me that you're probably doing it too hard and you're trying to force it. He's trying to give her a squirting orgasm here. The harder you try to make her orgasm, the less likely she is going to, because you're putting pressure on her through your ego, and that's the whole point of this entire stream. I wanted to get through to you guys. So I've given him some more technical specific advice on what he could do here. Basically about getting her comfortable mentally and physically so she'll relax enough to allow herself to have a squirting orgasm. So this is the thing here, guys. It's the ultimate paradox here is that the more you try to get her off, and the more obvious it is that you're trying to get her off and you're trying to please her, the more that is going to hurt you. The more and it is going to play against you. And the reason for this is you're putting pressure on her. You're putting pressure in her head. And women, especially if a girl likes you enough to sleep with you, she doesn't want to hurt your ego. Basically, she's not in the business of destroying your self-esteem or anything like that, right? So what this means though is that when you're trying really hard to get her off, and you're trying really hard to please her in the bedroom, because she doesn't want to hurt your ego, she's not going to tell you, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, I don't like that, this doesn't feel good. She's never going to say that because it'll hurt your ego, right? And she doesn't want you to get a soft dick and so on and so forth, right? She doesn't want you to go from this to this because you now feel kind of self-conscious, right? So women do you a favor by not actually telling you the truth there and just sort of, telling you, oh, look, I'm just not feeling the mood today. I'm not comfortable enough. I'm not relaxed enough, whatever it might be, right? So your job is instead you've got to try and, look, you might actually want to get her off. You might be very enthusiastic about getting off, and that is fine. Like, I'm one of these guys. I like pleasing women. You know what I mean? Like, it's the I get off on getting her off kind of situation, and that's totally fine. But you don't make it known. You definitely don't make it verbally known, and you try your best to not make it super obvious in the way that you're doing it. And that's why I've said, especially if, and this is very easy to do if you're in like a longer term relationship with somebody, or you're seeing them over several sex sessions. You know, it's like a fuck buddy situation or a relationship, whatever it is, where you're having sex periodically over a long period of time. You can build up to these things. You can slowly get a girl off in these different ways without her really knowing that you're trying to do that, without giving the game away. Because as soon as you tell her, because this is the problem, like, you can't really take it back. As soon as you tell her, I'm going to try to do this to you, or I'm going to make you do this kind of orgasm, then there's pressure in her head. And then even if you don't do it that time, the next time you try, she's going to know what you're trying to do, and she's going to, again, go into her head and be like, oh, God, this guy's trying to do this thing. I really, like, because she might want to. She might really want to orgasm this way for you. She might be like, oh, I really want to please him. I really want to please him. And then she's putting pressure on herself where she can't relax and she can't let go. Right? So for a woman to orgasm, there's a lot of things that have to happen. She has to sort of like, well, for certain orgasms, at least, she has to like really kind of let go and be present and in the moment of the situation. She can't be in her head. You have to kind of get the consciousness out of her. I think Rollo Tomasi said this to me once. He was like, what you're describing is basically like effing the consciousness, the self-consciousness out of her, so she can just be in the moment, and then bang, she starts to orgasm. And so a large part of that is getting her out of the head. And dominant way. So this doesn't just tie. It just obviously has parallels, you know, outside of the bedroom, right? Where any guy who's watching this who has had, you know, has been rejected from women in the past, or has had bad relationships, whatever it might be, knows that when you're overly trying to please a woman, when you're being what some guys might call simpy, when you're trying to please her so much, you're trying to you're agreeing with her all the time, you're buying her lots of flowers and chocolates all the time, you're worshipping the ground she walks on, this repels her. This kind of behavior really repels her, right? And makes her lose attraction for you, right? So there's a lot of parallels between the bedroom and outside the bedroom in terms of relationship dynamics and the way you come across and what you're trying to do and the way you're doing it, more importantly, you know. So this little quick lesson for everybody today, that there is indeed quite a paradox in that the more you try to please her, the more you're concerned about pleasing her, the less likely you actually are to do it. So the way you get around this is, you know what to do, you know the skills, you know the technique to actually get her off in certain ways. Then at the same time, you aren't 100. You're not live or die on whether or not she orgasms, or whether or not, you know, you achieve a certain type of orgasm, right? You're doing it for your own perverse pleasure. You're doing these things to her because it gets you off, not because you're so desperate to please her. You're doing them from what I like to call the selfish pervert frame, right? Where she's your little toy for the evening and you're just having fun with her, and she's along for the ride, basically. And ironically enough, that mental attitude, that kind of frame of mind coming from it that way, is infinitely more likely to get a girl to orgasm than if you're trying so super desperately to please her and get her off. And it's like all your energy is focused on this thing, and you can't stop unless she does this, and you're worthless unless she does you make her orgasm, all this kind of stuff, right? It's the wrong frame to cut this stuff with. So that's why I preach this idea of the selfish pervert frame quite a lot to guys, because it does a lot of things for you. It can help with, you know, things like performance anxiety, as well as actually giving you the correct frame of mind to come at sex with. So that she can relax for a start. So because you're taking all this pressure off of her. If you're being the selfish pervert and you're just having fun having your way with her, it takes a lot of the pressure. It takes the pressure off her. One, you're leading, so she doesn't have to lead anything. And two, there's no outcome. It's not outcome dependent, right? Because some guys, when they go in there, like a couple of these examples, like, oh, I really want to make her squirt, or I really want to make her orgasm from penetration. There's a lot of outcome dependence there in their mind. They need this outcome to happen. But the selfish pervert doesn't need that outcome to happen. It just happens now along the way. So this might be a bit of a, a bit of an ethereal concept, but I hope that I've communicated this in a way that you guys can wrap your heads around it and really take something out of this. Yeah, exactly, Chris Black. Conan the Barbarian wouldn't care, right? And he would get her. He would very likely get her off at the same time. See if I can catch up with the chat here. Marty, good to see you in the chat, mate. Jack Napier, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Good to see you. Danny Arnold, always good to see you again, sir. Good morning to you. Tarkel, welcome back. Good to see you again. I like your Avi, by the way. Tarkel Algabind. I very, very much like your Avi. Let's keep going here. Danny got in the right time. Bullboy, good to see you. I'm probably still 8-bit, but you know, it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. Good point here, Davina. Telling someone to relax will very often do the complete opposite. Like at your work, if you've ever been stressed out at work and someone's just come up, work colleague has come up to you and told you, like, just relax, dude. Like, you've probably got pissed off, right, and angry about it. At least I know I do. So you're right, Davina. Like doing the complete opposite. You have to lead them to that place, right? You don't tell them to go there. You have to lead them to the place where they're comfortable, where they're relaxed, right? And you do that by being the emotional leader in the situation. And in this situation, there's the bedroom. So when you're stressed, this all ties in, right? When you're stressed out and when you're all sort of pent up and outcome dependent, that's the emotions that you're leading her into, right? Thank you for the reminder. 55 people. Well, we've got 96 people now watching. Smash that like button. Don't forget to smash that like button. And if you're new to this channel, give us a subscribe. Right? And if you're watching this on the replay, leave some comments down below if there's anything. If you've had similar experiences to this, right? If this is ringing some bells where like you really desperately tried to sort of achieve a specific outcome in the bedroom, and that kind of ruined it, right? We're very interested to hear some tales from the field from you guys. Duke, good to see you. Duke, that's an interesting question. Is Goldie Glock a diva or an info like Riley Reid? I've never worked with Riley, so I'm not sure what Riley's like, but Goldie Glock is fantastic. I'd consider Goldie Glock to be more of the professional category that I lump porn girls into. Of the 3 categories I lump them into, she's more of a professional. Still great to work with her. Good to see Thor in the house. Always good to see you, sir. Skull. Getting the leaves off my favorite thing. Yes, great advice. Take control, but don't let them. Exactly. Adam Florida, good to see you again as always. It's a good point here, Danny. Yeah, we F the self-consciousness out of them, and they F the war out of us. Or they probably F the fight out of us. It's a pretty good way to say it, because what guy wants to go get into a fight after he's had an orgasm? Not many of them, right? And after a girl's been dicked down properly, she ain't bitchy. There's something in that, right? Good question here, Adam, Florida. He says, why is simping a huge issue, especially in the West? It's because Rollo would say we live in a, Rollo Tomasi would say we live in a female primary social order, a gynocentric social order, right? So basically, like, the whole of society right now is structured for the benefit of women, and structured for the female sexual imperatives, right? Hypergamy. It's structured around optimizing that, really, and optimizing it is sort of encouraged for women these days. So what happens with that is dudes don't have any standards anymore. Guys don't set boundaries and standards anymore for, the kind of behavior they'll tolerate and stuff. And they've been lied to a lot about. They've been lied to about what women want, because they listen to women telling them what they want, and they don't listen to dudes who are good with women, who tell them, okay, this is actually what women want, and this is actually what they respond well to. So there you go. Carlos, is this a question? Can too much sex can be simping? I don't think so. Not at all. Black route. Oh, Jesus. Great timing. What timing? My neighbor just got a bunch of roses from her boyfriend. Oh, boy. Here we go. Look, there's nothing. Look, there's nothing wrong with doing that. By the way, I'm just saying, you have to understand the context in which to do it. Like, rewarding good behavior is fantastic. Like, if she's loyal, she's faithful, she's doing good things. The problem is guys tend to do the whole flowers and chocolates thing as like an apology, as a way of making up for like, the girl's angry at something, so he gets her flowers. What's that doing? It's like he's rewarding her for getting angry. That's a terrible idea. It's just basic psychology. Professor Stirling, spitting facts. Thank you, person whose name I cannot pronounce because it's in a different alphabet. So what do we get up to? Yes, Alton, the video is definitely blurry because I'm currently in Africa, where the Wi-Fi is not fantastic. And I would agree here, Randall. As Rich Cooper says, it's mostly because women have been pussified. Yes, I would. Because men have been pussified. I would completely agree with that as well. Yes. I am Raid Guy. I'm currently in Casablanca. That's where I am. The lovely Casablanca Mosque, the big mosque, is just down here on the corner. We're right on the beach. It's fantastic. Well, coastline. It's rather nice. It's been a bit rainy, unfortunately, though. We went to Africa to get away from the rain, to get away from the winter, to find warmer weather, but it sort of backfired on us, and we just took it with us. So, yes, Thor. Makeup sex and hate sex are very, very similar. Tom is currently working right now, so he's got things to do. There's some good questions up here. I skipped right ahead. Make sure. Yes, Thor here agreeing with me. You definitely can't place performance pressure on a woman. It's a recipe for not the best experience. It's a recipe for disaster. All right, here we go. Carlos with a reminder to smash that like button. Thank you guys. Here we go. Black Route says, outcome independence is what improved my dating life the most. You want to know what improved my dating life the most? This is actually a very interesting thing. I suppose it's a bit similar to you, Black Route. You call it outcome independence. I called it, when people asked me this back in the day, I called it apathy, which isn't necessarily outcome independence, actually. It's probably a little bit different. But for me, the biggest thing that helped me with getting better with the ladies, getting better results with the ladies, and when it comes to dating, just like dating in general, not necessarily the bedroom, but just dating, with this idea of apathy, of like, not even not giving a fuck. There is an element of not giving a fuck to it, but it was being emotionally unreactive, being apathetic about anything and anything they did around me was hands down like the biggest improvement I ever made to my interactions with women, because I am naturally a very emotional guy. I'm naturally a very responsive, reactive kind of guy. It's just how I was kind of raised to not ignore people. I was raised that, it's very rude to ignore somebody, right? Problem is, you have to ignore women sometimes. In fact, a lot of the time. You just have to ignore them. And when you're responding to everything someone says, it by default kind of, the frame puts them on a pedestal a little bit, right? So for me, apathy was the biggest game changer for me, just learning the time to be more apathetic. As I saw better responses, the more apathetic I was like, there's something to this for me. So I think for every guy, honestly, I have this theory, right? That every guy is actually great with women. We just get taught shit that fucks us up. So like, we like all these layers of bullshit get put around us, and these bad habits and bad conditionings, and it's our job to sort of peel them away. Right, so in that sense, I think with every guy, there tends to be just like one, or unless they're like a complete train wreck. Most guys aren't complete train wrecks. Most guys are actually like pretty well-adjusted, nice, easygoing guys, right? With just one or two tweaks, they become really attractive to women, right? So I think for every guy, there's like one thing primarily that they need to add or learn or take away. For most of the points. Most of the time, it's just something they need to peel away, and then they're fine. They don't really have any problems. So with Black Route's suggestion here, it's like, for him it was outcome independence, right? For me, it was apathy. I needed to be like less like emotionally invested in everything that was happening around me. You know? This is a good point, Delfinity. He says, he or she, I'm not sure if you're a he or she. Girls are outcome dependent in bed, though. If you don't come, they start wondering. They get mad if you don't come. They get, especially if they're really, really into you. They sort of, it's damaging to their own ego, because women are told all the time that dudes are like really easy to make orgasm. Dudes, come very easily, whatever. So in their mind, it's like, if she can't make a dude come, then there's something wrong with her. It really fucks with their self-esteem and their ego. I'm not saying you should do this as like a technique or anything. It's look, if you don't want to come, it's totally fine to not come. You know what I mean? But yeah, you definitely can fuck with their head a bit if you don't. So do with that what you may. Here you go. VK, good question. Would you agree that a healthy combination of light domination from your side and a little bit of wine unlocks her self-consciousness and you can get orgasm? Well, look, there's a reason that alcohol's been used as like a social lubricant, and for like eons. There's a reason that alcohol's got more people laid than anything. It's because it sort of really, lets down the inhibitions, and that's part of what allows women to let go. Right. I would, however, advise against it as like a crutch. You don't want to depend on it, because if you depend on it and you can't do it without it. So then it becomes a crutch. Then you just need to have your partner be tipsy in order to get her off, right? So you kind of want to stay away from that. It's better if, it's not, if it happens naturally, that's fine, but you don't use it as like, I need to, have a half a glass of wine before we get them, so I'm more likely to get to orgasm. Just don't use it as a crutch, is what I'm saying here. Adam, no, my book is not available on Amazon because it's a bit too racy for Amazon. They won't allow that shit on there. We're not in that part of Africa, Zion. He says, hey, Stirling, how's Africa treating you? Are you guys using mosquito nets or is it too cold for them right now? Well, it's cold, that's for damn sure. But we're in the north of Africa. We're in Morocco, so there's not really that kind of mosquito problem or anything like that down here. We're going to the south of Morocco on Wednesday. I'm going to go to Agadir, check out Agadir. I've got a friend down there. I'm on this show. We'll see what happens. It'll be a very interesting episode if I get him on here. A second. Alrighty. Paul Riddle says, what do you think about telling a girl to deliberately fake orgasms? That would take the pressure off and give permission to be loud. I don't think it's useful at all. It's better just to tell her, like, okay, it's good to encourage her to be loud. That is a good thing. So I'll say you're kind of on the right path here. It's good to encourage her to be loud. Something I figured out really, really, really early on in my youth was that if you have sex in a car, if you say drive a girl to like a nice lookout spot and you have sex in a car, she can be as loud as she fucking wants. If she's not, this is back when I was like a teenager, you know what I mean? Because you couldn't have sex at home because the parents and that sort of stuff, right? So if she lives with somebody and that's sort of making her self-conscious about being loud and letting go, then car sex at a remote lookout spot gives her the context with which she can feel free to be as loud as she likes. And you can encourage that by making it obvious, oh, no one's going to hear us here. We can be as loud as we want to be. And you go first. So if you're loud, then she can follow up and be loud as well. Like you're grunting and moaning and you're not, you're expressing your dirty talking and you're not self-conscious about it. It's going to encourage her to go there as well. If she has a problem with that, if she has a problem letting go like that. So you're kind of on the right track here, but I wouldn't encourage a girl to sort of fake orgasms. I would never. In fact, I'd probably if I was forced to make a choice, I'd encourage her to do the complete opposite. I'd encourage her to like, look, if you're not orgasming, I don't give a shit. Basically, like it's not my ego doesn't depend upon getting you off, right? That's kind of the selfish pervert frame there. Again, it's probably a bad precedent to be encouraging her to fake orgasms. But encouraging her to be loud is a great precedent because that encourages her to relax, to let go, to get out of her head, to be more in the moment. So that's the golden part there. Let's see if there's more questions down here. Last year I was with a girl, me not aware of being dominant in the bed as a guy, blue pill by the time. Once while she said my ex was choking me, I thought, oh damn, your ex was abusive. Not the case, my friend, not the case. Nope. He just knew what buttons to press, he knew what her comfort level was at. So there you go. Hopefully, this kind of talk, this little bit of stuff is kind of waking you guys up a bit. Because like I said before, there's a strong connection there, right, between the relationship, the dynamic in the bedroom, and the relationship dynamic outside the bedroom, right? And how you express yourself in the bedroom and how you express yourself in the real world. Unapologetic, dominant, leading. Right? These things all tie in together, That's why in our channel we're trying to revive masculinity through bedroom mastery. Teaching you those things, get those skills down, get the bedroom mastery stuff down. You learn all these sort of dominant behaviors in the bedroom. It's gonna naturally manifest into your everyday life as well, and vice versa. Correct, Hanafi. Yes, he says even social justice women in the end want a very masculine man taking charge of the bedroom. I've had plenty of exes who were feminists. I've had plenty of exes who were, social justice warriors at the time, and all of them loved to be dominated. All of them were submissive in the bedroom. I've dated dominatrixes. I've had dominatrixes as my fuck buddies, and they're they're the ones who want you to like throw them around and dominate them the most. It's a universal thing there. Oops, what are we up to? Trying to keep up with the chat here, guys. Trying to keep up. Boy, you guys are talking a lot today. Here we go. It's an interesting point. I've heard John from MLD. Shout out to John from Modern Life Dating. He says MLD usually says that once you've lived out of the West for more than 2 months, you tend to realize how different life is out of the West, and it's tough to come back. He actually says that once men have sort of lived outside the West and they've experienced women outside of the West for more than 2 months, then it's very hard for them to come back. And I know guys who are like this. Look, I've had enough experience in, say, South America to like have preferences. Let's just say that I have preferences, right? Do I still like date and bang Western chicks? Yeah, you know. But there's no doubt that I can absolutely see how a guy could get tainted by living in a foreign country, living in this like a patriarchal society, like somewhere in Asia or like, you know, here in Africa, right? The Moroccan girls seem quite nice. Oh, Jesus. Dark hell. My sister gets chocolate and flowers each time she's mad at my brother-in-law, and she's now obese. Dear Lord. Alton, I do not have any plans to come to South Africa, unfortunately. This is probably as far south into the continent as I'll get. Goncisco, how does one stand out in bed if you don't have the best genetics? Can being dominant be enough? Absolutely, my friend, absolutely. That is the entire point of my video course, Sexual Dominance Escalation. Links in the description below. You don't, well, for a start, if you're not blessed with the best genetics, if you're talking about, you know, the old mate downstairs, for a start, you can grow it. The ebook is in the description down below on YouTube. How I grew my penis and other porn industry secrets. I outline exactly how I did it, because I did it before I got into my porn. When I first started in porn, I grew my appendage, and I show you how I did it. Second of all, if you aren't blessed genetically, there are other things you can do. If you don't have the patience for that, or while you're doing that, then you can learn a whole bunch of skills that will make you a lot more of a dominant lover, which have nothing at all to do with your genetics, right? Because trust me, I know plenty of dudes who are super, super dominant in the bedroom who are professional doms who aren't packing, and they have girls fawning over them. It's because they can give the girls something that no one else can. All right. Let's keep going. Moment on. Thank you, Matt. Matt Dempsey, good to see you in the chat again, mate. Video topic, by the way. Thank you. Davina says, get your tee up and become a natural born driller. Well, I can't disagree with that, Davina. That's solid advice. Tan your sack, train your back. There you go. Can't go wrong with that advice. See any more questions that we're scrolling through. That's a good question, Duckalux. Are you wanted since you keep moving around during COVID? No. Neither me nor Tom are wanted by the law in any country that we've ever been to. So no, we're not wanted. And we're moving around during COVID purely because we can, and everyone thinks you can't. We're doing this just to prove that you can, because everyone is sort of Everyone's in lockdown, and everyone, like, we got out. I mean, to be fair, we got out of England just in time before they went to lockdown because we kind of saw it coming. So, you know, if you're a bit more aware of where things can go, and if you see, you know, the tide, if you see the wave building up, it's probably a good idea to get away from the beach before it crashes on the beach, right? So that's kind of what we've been doing. We're bouncing around. We're trying to find a bit of freedom, basically. And to be quite frank, there's a upside and a downside right here in Morocco, where the downside is that they're technically in lockdown because the restaurant's shut at like 8 o'clock, and you can't order, you can't eat like dinner in the restaurants, but you can eat dessert in the restaurants. All the cafes are packed with everyone just eating dessert and having coffee, but they're not allowed to, if you want to eat like dinner, you have to take it away. It's the stupidest thing. They've just navigated around this loophole. But the good thing is that no one here is really taking the COVID lockdown serious. So yes, some people are outside wearing masks. Typically, like, older people are outside. If they're outside, they're wearing masks. But everyone's out, walking around. No one's staying in their homes. In the restaurants, they don't give a shit about wearing, like, the waiters do wear masks, but they're like under their nose. They don't really care. Like, no one. The two, like, you can't impose the kind of lockdowns that are in London. You can't impose them here. It's unenforceable here. They wouldn't do it. So there we go. Let's go. Oh, thank you for this, Randall. I'm currently working my way through his course already, and dude knows his stuff. Thank you very much. Yes, I do. I know what the hell I'm talking about. And correct, sex is a skill at which you get better with through experience, or through learning what the hell to do, which is what I teach you guys. You can significantly fast forward your experience level by learning the stuff I teach. Oh, this is a really nice little bit of review here. I used to be hesitant about the idea of CHOKING-ing a woman, and then he explained it, and now I'm comfortable with it. See, I was the same way too, dude. I used to be very uncomfortable with it. That was doing that to women until I started women encourage me to do it, and I had positive feedback, and I was like, oh wait, this is actually something girls really enjoy. What a surprise, you know. So now I'm at the point where that doesn't bother me anymore, right? And I'm sort of constantly, I'm able to read a woman's body language when she's very, very open to that idea, like right off the bat. So, and I teach that in the course as well. There you go. Good question, Henry. Have you ever heard from a girl that you were too aggressive or dominant? I've heard, well, yeah, a couple of times, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily like, oh, you're too aggressive or you're too dominant. It was more, I'm pushing something and she says, and she's not comfortable with it, and so I back off, right? But that's what happens when you're sort of testing the waters, and you're sort of testing where she's at, comfort wise, like what things she's into, what things she's not into. You are always sort of testing that boundary, right? So you're like, okay, like it's a 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing. So it's like, okay, does she like this? Am I going to put my hand here? I'm reading her body language. I'm picking up on the signals. So she doesn't actually have to tell me too aggressive or too dominant. I can gauge by her physical response, by her body language. I can gauge, oh, am I pushing this too far? Okay, back off, and we stay here. Then maybe next time we might be able to go a bit further, but for now we'll stay here. So we keep things in a comfort zone where she's happy and she's fun and she's enjoying it. Oh no, I fell behind the chat again. Nuts. Apparently the sound quality is starting to drop. That's no good. Robot Cooper podcast. Great. Ryan Allen, good to see you in chat again, mate. Danny wants the audiobook version when he's in the car. Well, look, there's far too many visual things in that course for me to do an audio, or even in my book, there's too many like diagrams and things for me to do as an audiobook. All right. Random Russian user here, whose name I can't pronounce, says, "Why do girls get off on spanking?" I've had a couple of theories about this. The primary one is, again, like, kind of ties into the whole idea of being more dominant, is that it's like a subconscious communication that you have the capacity for violence if you can physically dominate her, and if you have the capacity for violence, then therefore you have the ability to defend her. Like, ultimately, I think it all falls down to that. I've had other people say that it's like a childhood thing, where like if their daddy spanked them, then they're likely to enjoy spanking because it confers that you are the authority in their life, and they like to submit to that. It makes you the man in her life, so she wants to submit to that, and so she enjoys it and she gets off on it. I've heard people say that as well. Jack, anyone else experiencing liking rap more? Now that you've got a shitload of poon and are gaining financial success. I kind of did. I went through that for a while. I went through that phase for a while. Now I'm kind of back into more enjoying metal, if I'm being honest. A reminder to Marlon is reminding everyone to smash that like button. Thank you, sir. Once again, smash that like button if you're all watching. Wow. Randall hiked a mountain yesterday, and over half the people were wearing masks. And that kind of, yeah. If you're outside in the sunlight, guys, God, I'm not trying to get this podcast taken down, talking about this stuff too much, but you know, you already can, like, if you've watched any of the vlogs that are on this channel, and if you haven't, I highly suggest you do, because they're very funny, especially the one that's dropping tomorrow. It's hilarious. So not tomorrow, sorry, Wednesday. It is hilarious. Check it out. But you know my opinion on this already if you've been watching this show long enough. It was a great question from BK. Sterling, how would you use mirrors during sex? I find most good-looking girls love to look at themselves while giving blowjobs. That's because they're narcissistic as fuck. So that's why they're looking at themselves whilst giving a BJ. I know this because this is what the girls I work with do all the time. If there's any kind of reflective surface, they will be staring at themselves, and either me or the director has to tell them to stop looking at the damn reflection all the time. It's true, Tom. Yeah, it happens. Actually, I'll tell you a story right now. Tom's giving me the eye. Tom's like, "What? Really?" I was shooting with this girl in this like a skyscraper in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, and it was at nighttime. So all the windows in this skyscraping office building were reflective, so she could just see herself all the time. And there was about 4 times during this shoot, during the sex scene, that the director had to tell her, "Stop looking at your reflection. Stop looking at your reflection in like the window," because it's super, super narcissistic.
She's literally in love with her own self.
Yeah, literally in love with their own reflection, right? Yeah, so that's kind of what happens. But to answer your question, Rico, how would you use mirrors? I think a ceiling mirror is really fucking cool. They're very like unusual and very uncommon. So because when you're on top of her in missionary position, it also allows her to check out your ass, which is always a good thing. But and the way I use mirrors, if there's a mirror, like say we're in like doggy style or something, and we can both see each other, if we can both see each other's eyes in the mirror, I will whisper shit in her ear while I'm looking at her looking into her eyes in the mirror, and whisper in her ear something like, "Do you like watching yourself getting fucked, you naughty girl?" Something like that. And obviously she's like, "Oh yeah," her eyes are gonna roll in the back of her head, and she's gonna get off on the watching and the you watching her watching. So there's like layers to it there. So that's how I would use it. Oh, that's how I do use it. Let's see if there's any more questions here in the chat. I'm going to come back to this. Dennis, this is a good question. I'm going to come back to it if I haven't already. And Zion, yeah, okay, Zion. Did you know that recently girls came out accusing Ryan Madison of sexual assault? Any opinions on that? That happened ages ago, man. That happened like in the middle of the year during the lockdown in Los Angeles. When our industry was on break, yeah, he got a bunch of girls coming out, and like with one of the girls, he released all the footage like for free. So it was like a BTS behind the scenes camera that he had rolling specifically for this purpose to stop to in case anyone accused him of stuff. So you can actually find that and see it for yourself for one of the girls. I have heard from multiple girls though that he does tend to cross their like boundaries a bit. For one thing in particular that he does is like the girls will say they don't do cream pies, and he'll cream pie them, which is a pretty big deal. You know, like they don't want to get, you know, they don't want to get pregnant or whatever, and he's like dumping a fat load in them. He's crossing a bit of a line. That's kind of how our industry works. So we set pretty hard. We discuss with our partner beforehand. Be like, don't do this. You can do this, this, and this. We're very, very. We sort of, it kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it, but it's a necessary thing for our industry where we set the boundaries with our partner before we have sex with them. Typically that's what we do. Yeah. That was a good question here from Dennis. He said, if we have resistance after engaging in sexual acts against women, should we perceive this as a no, or should we be persistent? I'm not. It depends what you're talking about. Are you talking about like initiating sex, or are you talking about during the act of sex? So if you're initiating sex, right, or if you sort of bring a girl home from a date and you're trying to like move things towards the bedroom, it's okay to go like I said before, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? A no is like, if it's like there's a difference between like a hard no and a I'm not ready yet no. Those are 2 different things, and you have to be able to, having experience will help you to read those 2 different things, right? And this in the bedroom, my take is typically like if she's very resistant, I'm reading. Typically, it never gets to the point where a girl is actually just going to tell me the word no in the bedroom, because I'm reading her body language the whole time. So I already know if I'm pushing a bit too much, because I can read her, and I'm backing off if I see I'm pushing it too much, right? So that's the ideal, because you never want her to get so uncomfortable that she has to vocalize it in the first place, because that kind of communicates that you can't read her body language. Right? I think we might have caught up with all the questions by now. Metal is life. Yes, correct, Danny. Thoughts on giving back massages? I'm actually incredibly good at giving massages, because it was part of my job being a high class male companion. It was one of the things in my service. So I'm extremely in part of my whole package. So I'm extremely good at doing them. Look, if you enjoy giving them, then give them. Yeah. But again, this comes from the same frame. Don't do them to like to try and please over the top. Don't put her on a pedestal and do it. Don't do it because use it as a reward. If she's been pleasant and good and is cleaned up the house and is doing like nice things for you and is like cook your meals and like use it as a reward. They don't deserve it just because. I find that it's a better frame to come in from that way. Yeah. Everyone go out and buy a mirror. Correct. Oh boy. Well, Thor's in the chat talking about spanking and stuff, so congratulations, Thor. It is now degenerate. My chat, welcome. It was completely transcended into descended into absolute degeneracy thanks to you, Mr. Thor, so well done. Good question, Randall. I thank you for being so active in the chat, Randall. I remember seeing you in I think I first came. Did you first jump in on was it John's live stream or Rich Cooper's live stream? I remember coming across you on someone else's live stream for the first time, because I think we were talking about your weight loss advice or weight loss journey. So well done on that, by the way. He says, I'm still a bigger guy and notice I have approach anxiety over that. While I'm not as big as I used to be, I still feel like I'm overly large. Any tips on how to handle it? How tall are you? I'm curious how tall you are. for your sides as well. Look, approach anxiety is sort of like you building things up to be more than they actually are. The way I always sort of talked about getting over approach anxiety is just try and make it fun. Like go out there and deliberately try to get rejected. If you're doing like, you know, nighttime or daytime, like cold approach, pick up kind of stuff, just try to. It's not my area of expertise. It's not my specialty, but I can at least give some advice on it. And I would say just be self-amusing and deliberately try to get rejected. Like say something that's so absurdly stupid that she has to like reject you, and then there's no outcome dependence on doing it, right? So I used to go up to got shocked. I used to go up to girls and say shit like, "Oh, hey, I'm Stirling. I have HIV. I'm legally required to tell you this," and they'd just be like, "What the." You know, and inside, I'm just losing my shit laughing because I think that's fucking hilarious to go up to a complete stranger and tell them that. So that kind of stuff, like, then once you do that, you start to like it loses the fear sort of starts to go away, the anxiety goes away, and it's just a bit of fun, you know. Oh, is that are you hungry? I was like, what signal is that? Doing this? I'm like, what? Yeah, we better go get some food. There was one more question. I saw a super chat pop up here down here. Reynold J. Thank you for the $5 super chat, by the way. Much appreciated. I'm 6 foot tall and weigh 212. Okay, so you're not a short guy at least. Yeah, I mean it's kind of irrelevant. Like it's just like if you're like 6'4" and a fat dude. It's not being fat isn't actually going to hurt you that much. You're just so goddamn intimidating with your presence that it would, kind of overcome that. But because you're 6 foot, obviously keep losing your weight, keep on your weight loss journey. But yeah, try to add in that element of like self-amusing aspect to it. At least if you're going to go out and do approaches, at least for the first few approaches. Because that loosens you up and you're like, oh, this is fun. You enjoy it. It starts being fun, and then you can actually start getting a bit more serious the next ones. Don't do this if it's like at a workplace or at your school, somewhere like where your reputation could get tarnished. Obviously, and then you'll get a reputation at your school. Like everyone thinks you, like at your your university, everyone thinks you have HIV. It's like a terrible reputation to have. This is the example I gave is something stupid you'd say to complete strangers who you're probably never going to see again. So. Sort of add a bit of context into that one as well. Yes. This is a great advice, Super Gecko, by the way. He says, I got into cold sales to get over my social anxiety. That's the whole point. It kind of alludes to what I was saying, like getting used to being rejected, being comfortable being rejected is part of the process you have to go through. And nothing will make you more comfortable with rejection than cold sales, like cold calling and street. Being one of those people on the street who has to like go up and try to get people to give their money to Greenpeace. You'll get rejected all day, every day. You'll become fucking immune to that stuff. So it's a great piece of advice. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you joined the chat with Alex from Playing with Fire and came over from your podcast, which group. Excellent. Cool. One last question, and then we'll bounce out here. Takes on 9s and 10s. Here's my very, very quick take on this. And that is that 9s and 10s are simply 6s and 7s with makeup on. Every girl who you think is a 9 or a 10, I've seen them with makeup off. Right? Because I see them after we're done shooting a scene. When the makeup's all teary run down, they hop in the shower, they clean up, and they come out again. I see them with their makeup off. They're all these chicks you think you're putting on a pedestal, calling 9s and 10s. When their makeup's off, they're all 6s and 7s, mate. There aren't really any 9s and 10s. They're all just better at putting makeup on than the other ones. So that's my take. Anyway, that'll do us for today, guys. It is time for me to try and grab some dinner before the restaurant. Oh shit! You're gonna oh god, I gotta move because the restaurant's gonna shut here. Oh god, I'm gonna starve to death. All right. Thank you for joining in. I'll see you guys next time.